Years of sweat, sacrifice, and sleepless nights had finally led me to a place most people only fantasize about. To me, it wasn't just a house. It was the embodiment of my struggle, the monument of every battle I had fought and won. I had always dreamed of owning a mansion in the mountains. Not just any house, but a retreat perched high above the noise of the world, where every sunrise would remind me that peace was earned, not given. I came from nothing, raised in a cramped apartment where the walls were so thin you could hear every argument from next door. Back then, silence was a luxury. When I entered the tech world, I worked myself to the bone. Startups, coding marathons, sleepless nights spent building products no one believed in until suddenly, everyone did. I failed more than once, was laughed at more times than I can count, but in the end, I made it. The money came pouring in, but even then, something was missing: peace. So when I discovered that patch of untouched land high in the mountains, I knew it was mine. It wasn't easy. The realtors tried to scare me off. Too isolated. The terrain's impossible. Who would want to live up there? But I wanted it because it was isolated, because it was untouched, because it was the kind of place where, once you arrived, the rest of the world ceased to exist. I poured everything into building the mansion: white stone, cedar beams, floor-to-ceiling glass that opened onto a balcony where the clouds themselves seemed close enough to touch. From that balcony, you could see the valleys roll endlessly into the horizon. It wasn't just a home, it was a fortress of solitude. When it was done, I stood there on the first morning, coffee in hand, and listened, not to car horns, not to construction, not to the chaos of the city, just the soft rustle of pine needles in the breeze, the distant call of an eagle, the quiet heartbeats of the earth itself. I thought I had found my paradise. Of course, paradise never comes without a price, and mine came in the form of a group I had barely paid attention to at first: the local Homeowners Association, the HOA. At the time, I thought they were nothing more than a formality, a few monthly fees for road maintenance, snow plowing, maybe a community barbecue or two. Annoying, but harmless. I was wrong. At first, it was little things: a letter about trimming the trees near the road, a reminder that the mailbox design had to conform to certain guidelines. Irritations, yes, but nothing worth fighting over. I paid the fees they sent, signed the forms they demanded, and went back to enjoying the life I had built. But there's one thing I didn't know then, one thing I would come to understand far too late. You can build a mansion in the clouds. You can climb as high as you want. You can run as far as possible from the chaos of the world. But corruption, a broken bar corruption, will find you anywhere. And my so-called paradise was about to become a battlefield. At first, I brushed them off. The letters from the HOA were small annoyances in the grand scheme of things. A notice here, a fine there, $50 for lawn non-compliance, even though my front lawn was a stretch of wild mountain grass that I intentionally left natural. $100 for gate maintenance, even though I had built and paid for my own electronic gate. I laughed about it. Let them try, I thought. What could a handful of retirees with clipboards possibly do to me? I was living in a fortress, miles above the nearest convenience store. I had power, wealth, and lawyers on speed dial. But the HOA didn't just stop. They escalated. Soon the letters came weekly, then daily. Unpaid fees, they claimed. Late penalties stacked onto late penalties until the totals reached absurd amounts. Thousands of dollars, then tens of thousands, supposedly owed for community services I had never seen or used. Snow removal, though I cleared my own road. Security patrols, though the only thing patrolling the mountain was a family of deer. Landscaping, though the wilderness needed no manicure. I called, I emailed, I demanded an explanation. What I got were polite but chilling responses. Greater than according to our records. You are in arrears. Payment must be made within 30 days to avoid further action. Further action. Those two words were repeated again and again, and though they sounded bureaucratic, they carried a weight that I couldn't ignore. I asked for proof. They sent me spreadsheets so sloppy they looked like they had been thrown together in Microsoft Paint. I hired an accountant to review them. His verdict: completely fabricated. It was clear now the HOA wasn't just greedy. They were predatory. And they had decided I would be their prey. I wasn't the only one. Neighbors whispered stories when I met them on rare occasions. Families pressured into paying fees that doubled overnight. Retirees threatened with liens on their homes. One couple who had their property foreclosed after refusing to pay. Everyone hated the HOA, but no one fought them. Why? Because the HOA controlled the county board, the courts, even the sheriff's office. And me? I was the newcomer with the biggest house on the hill, the outsider who didn't bow to their petty rules. In their eyes, I wasn't just a member of the community, I was a challenge. And challenges had to be crushed. The first true strike came in the form of a legal notice. They claimed I was behind on nearly $150,000 in fees and penalties if I didn't pay within 14 days. They threatened foreclosure. I laughed at first. Then I called my lawyer. He didn't laugh. This district's HOA is notorious, he told me grimly. They've been pulling this for years. Once they file foreclosure paperwork, they'll use their connections to fast-track it. You'll be tied up in court for months, maybe years. And even if you win, by then a broken bar your home could be gone. I couldn't believe it. In America, in the 21st century, some backwoods association of power-drunk retirees could bulldoze a man's dream home over fake unpaid fees? But then again, power is power, and no matter how small or absurd it looks from the outside. And they had power in spades. The harassment escalated. Trucks parked outside my gates at night, engines idling, their headlights sweeping across my windows like searchlights. Drones buzzed overhead, photographing my property. Notices appeared nailed to my trees, stapled to my mailbox, taped to my doors. Each one bore the same threat: pay, or face further action. It was only a matter of time before they acted. And when they did a broken bar, they didn't just take my money. They came for everything.